interesting. Gosh, there's a lot of people here. All right, my helpers. So I am Brian's sister, Bernie. There are two other sisters, as you've been introduced to, Liz and Maureen, or you lovingly call her Mo. When Brian first became ill, the sisters flew to Brian's side to assist in his care. Brian, being fiercely independent, did not necessarily appreciate the assistance and cleverly and very early on named us the Smothers. It became a joke among us who was Brian's favorite Smother. Well, maybe it was me that persisted in naming a favorite. It matters not, because although I know that chronologically I am the second or middle Smother, I know that I am Smother number 1 in my perceived status. I must admit that although I constantly teased Brian that I was his favorite, he would never bite or comment or commit, and would respond to each request for acknowledged status with a clever and hilarious diversion. At one point, after a particularly smothering by the Smothers, I asked Brian what procedure the doctor was going to be performing on this particular day. Brian's response was, well, among other things, I've asked for and I'm hoping the surgeon will do a siblingectomy. Anything else is an elective. There are many things I can say about Brian, but the one that I constantly teased him about, other than my favorite sister status, was how frugal he was. Brian, I would say, you work, you make a good living, you can afford some extravagances, like extravagance number 1, a decent TV. A couple of years ago, I came to Brian's for a visit. I walked into his fairly large family room that had a huge wall, perfectly designed to accommodate a fabulous, smart, big screen TV. But I find this little TV sitting on what I'll loosely call an entertainment unit that is housing a CD player, a DVD player, and various other antiquated entertainment devices. I take one look at this little TV and I say, Brian, when are you going to get a new TV? He turns and gives me that Brian look, you know, the one that clearly says, stay out of my stuff. The raised chin, the furrowed brow, and the pursed lips. And he says to me, what? I said, Brian, your TV, it's so small and outdated, you can't even get Netflix on this darn thing. When are you going to get a new one? He looks right at me and says quite deliberately, this is a new TV. And as a final note on this out-of-date TV, Brian was the only one on his block, well, maybe in all of Edgewood, perhaps all of Washington, that had a working antenna. Do any of you remember a working antenna on the roof? Yes, a working antenna. Brian's new TV, no cable for that TV, it was the antenna. Luxury number 2, the internet. Brian had an iPad that was almost always within his reach, especially when he was sitting on the couch watching TV. He would pick up that iPad whenever he wanted and research something or read his email. Again, whenever he wanted. The iPad was provided by his employer, or he wouldn't have had one. And the connection to the internet also provided by his employer. Brian had access. When I would come to visit Brian, it was a constant dialogue between the two of us. Brian, I need the internet. I'm still working. I need to access my email. I need to look stuff up on the internet. I need to track shipments on the internet. Brian, everyone that comes to your house and comes to see you needs the internet. Even you use it. When are you going to get the dang internet hooked up? He does that. Brian, don't question my stuff, look. And calmly says, what? I have the internet on my iPad and the library is right down the street. That was his answer. And when I would go to see Brian, I had to go to the library. This past August 17th, I finally said to my frugal little baby brother, we're upgrading your dial-up. And we did. I think Brian even appreciated how much faster his little iPad worked, but of course he would never admit it. Brian may have been frugal, but in contrast, he was also very generous, amazingly so. and he was quick-witted, funny, and fun, and Brian loved to play practical jokes. He boasted about several of them that he concocted and played out with friends and fellow workers. Brian told me about a few of his favorites. The joke was played on, this is one of Brian's favorites, I'm sorry. The joke was played on a pilot friend of Brian's who could not be here today, but he sent this email recapping the event. Here was what Brian did to this trustful and unsuspecting friend. Let me set this up by telling you Steve, Brian's friend, was a pilot for United Airlines, home-based in Seattle at the time. Here's the story. And so Steve sent this email, and he says, hold on, what he said. Okay. Although you've probably heard this story, I wanted to share a Brian favorite. I am a pilot for United Airlines, and he was doing some work at the United facility. Somehow, Brian talked the chief pilot there to type up a letter on an official United letterhead congratulating me on my recent assignment to Houston. This timing couldn't have been better, as I had just flown in from some overseas trip, and he approached me after practice on Friday, kendo practice, on Friday, saying, "Hey, what's the matter with your company? Don't they have official mail channels? Anyway, I was talking to your chief pilot, and we somehow got on the subject of you, and you and I practicing kendo together, and he asked me if I could give this to you." So I took